election of the Abington Heights School District. Would everyone please rise and pledge the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could we please have roll call?
Mr. Abdallah?
Here.
Mr. Azar?
Here.
Mr. Fleming?
Here.
Mrs. Henderson?
Here.
Mrs. Karam?
Here.
Mr. Medensky?
Here.
Mr. Robeson?
Here.
Mrs. Tierney?
Here.
Mr. Acker?
Here.
Everyone is present.
Can I please have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
On the motion? Roll call?
Sorry, we were switching gears. Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Medensky?
Here. Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Thank you. And Mr. Acker?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item, we have a new agenda here, so it's, we're all finding our way, so it's more of a challenge than normal for me, I must admit, you know. It is. In this particular case, we're gonna have the superintendent's report, if I follow this correctly.
Yes, we do. We have the superintendent's report. So I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I have a brief presentation. In that presentation, I will be asking our new Director of Technology, Justin Crockey, to come up and take us through. Crockey, I'm sorry, Justin. I'll get it right the third time. Our new website, which I'll talk about in a few moments. Now, today was a fantastic day in Abington Heights. It was our first day for students, and despite it not raining all summer long, it has decided to rain for what seemingly the last 3 days straight. But with all of that, with all of the rain, I want to open up by thanking all of our students, families, teachers, school leaders, and community members for their grace and compassion today. All of our students got to school safely and arrived home safely. It was a great day. I saw students and family members helping each other out. As we reflect on today, which I talked to all of our administrators about, we talked about what some of the glows are and what some of the grows are for today. And the one line that I heard from our principals and teachers the most today was, "Hey, Mr. Schaefer, it feels like it's pre-pandemic. It's so great." Every school that I walked into, every student that I talked to, they were happy, they were excited, they were nervous, they were anxious. It was nice to see. It really was. We had some challenges with transportation, which we had anticipated. We have a couple of our drivers that are out. We had a couple substitute drivers in. We add the rain. So we had a little bit of congestion. I sat at 720 on Winola Road. I wanted to get in and see what it was like at the middle school. And within 15 minutes, I was in the office talking to students. That went really quick, and I want to especially tip my hat to our middle school teachers and administrators for doing a great job moving everybody in and out. I talked to our drivers at the end of the day, and they said it was the best afternoon transition they ever had at the middle school. We had some lines everywhere, and I anticipate that that's going to calm down, one, when the rain calms down, and two, as we start getting back into the swing of things. I mentioned before the school visits, and I make it a point to go into every classroom and talk to students and go into the cafeteria and talk to the kids. And it never ceases to amaze me how many students I see helping other students and adults. It's just the standard. And I talked to our teachers and our administrators and our students today about our focus and excellence. Those are two things that I expect. And I talk a little bit about focus and how that's the antecedent to excellence. We have to first focus in internally on ourselves, those around us, and in the organization. So if we want to be the best learning organization, then we will need to focus inside, outside, and on the organization if we truly want to be excellent. It's not just one, it's all three of those elements. And today was a great demonstration of why we are there and working to be the most excellent organization. So I'm very proud to be a Comet today, and thank everybody who's out there watching, everybody here, for making today such a wonderful day. Also, I want to mention a glow for today, and you'll see on the agenda that we have the AHESPA, and that's our support staff agreement on the docket to be voted on. I want to thank all of our board members and all members of our support personnel that participated. I'm happy to say that we were able to come to consensus and agreement rather quickly. And if there's anybody that we need to tip our hat to on our daily basis, it is our support staff, our folks that are working third shift, second shift to make sure everything's the way it should be. Our paraprofessionals and aides that are there helping our students and staff on the things that we don't see. They're not apparent to us, but the jobs that they do on a daily basis keeps us moving along. So when you see our support staff, make sure you tip your hat and you say thank you. They've done a great job. Like any first day, one thing I'd like to do is take a look at data, see where we're at. It's only the first day, but it's an important data point for us. And I'd like to take a look at first day data longitudinally. And what I have in front of us is, almost 17 years worth of the first 3 days of school enrollment. And at this point, it's just a number today, but it's something that we'll be tracking over the next 10 days to see where we're at. I'm happy to say that we've seen an increase in 110 students from June 2022. And when you take a look at the graph in front of you, we've been steadily increasing since 15-16. And there are probably a lot of reasons for that. No specific one in particular. But the reason why I just spoke to you about focus and excellence is because everybody wants to be a part of an excellent organization. And if you aren't an excellent organization and students aren't your focus, then you will not see a trend like this. We want to make sure that every student and family that currently is not choosing Abington Heights and could decides to choose Abington Heights because they know that excellence is the standard and that we will focus on their children. And that's something that we're going to do on a day in and day out basis and make sure that our trend line continues. And we know that there will be challenges in enrollment. As enrollment increases, that means that we're going to have to change how we do some things. And that's a welcome change. And I'm showing you this today because not that we're making any decisions on this, but it's something that we're going to keep our eye on. So when I see families, when I see students, I'm going to ask them, how are we doing? How are we doing for you? And when I get positive responses, then I know we're trending in the right direction. When we start to get feedback that's not consistent with our expectations, then we need to know that we have to make some adjustments. So this is something that we will consistently look at. With that said, in order to focus on excellence, you need to listen to your customers. And we have 3,500 direct customers, and I'd argue probably 7,000 direct customers. And last year, we surveyed all of our community, and we had 4,000 responses back. And much to the credit of our technology committee, we put some questions in there about effective communication. We talked to them about what are you looking for when you visit your website, what types of information are most important to you. And I've highlighted behind me some of the most frequently searched, used information from our students and families. And they look for the calendar. They look for a board agenda, meeting minutes. They want to find the Infinite Campus portal, athletics information, lunch information, personnel directory. I show you this because anytime you roll out a new website, it's a lot of moving parts and a lot of information that needs to be moved over. Come Friday, we're going to go live with our new website. We're going to communicate out tomorrow to some of our families where we can find that information, where you'll be able to find archived information. But most importantly, what we're going to message is we spoke to you and we heard from you. So when we make this website live, families will have access to the information that we've highlighted above. And then we will start to migrate certain content and create other content. In some cases, some of our older content should probably stay old and buried, and we'll create more meaningful and relevant content for our families. So at this point, I am going to ask Justin to come up and give us a brief tour of the website and what families can expect. Do you want to go to Maggie's? Sure.
I have them all brought up here. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
Great.
Good, thanks.
Hot mic.
Thank you. All right, so when the website was presented to me, I took what the committee had decided what should be the overall layout for the school district site and then all the subsequent school sites. And I kind of worked on arranging the menus to be consistent for every site. I know as a frequent user of the internet, there's nothing more frustrating when you go to a site and you can't find the information you're looking for. When you first hit a home page, you should be able to find within a few seconds at least something that guides you to what you're trying to find. So when you land on the main district site, you're presented with the main menu here across the top, which has links to all the pertinent information. As you scroll down, you've got hot links to some of the major areas that were points of concern, human resources for employment, the district calendar, athletic schedules, links to Infinite Campus and School Messenger, the lunch menu, and to the school board. These hot buttons are consistent through all the subsequent school pages. And then as we scroll down, you'll have links to any upcoming news, as well as events that are coming up in the calendar. And then down the bottom, you have just some links to the district calendar and map information. As we hop over to some of the other schools, you'll notice the layout's very much the same. You have links to information about the school, academics, and then links for student support and for parents and staff. These are consistent through all of the school sites, which operate as individual sites. So the individual schools and the content managers there can modify and customize the information that's on the site to suit their needs, but the layout between all the sites is consistent. So if a parent has a student that's in the middle school and one in one of the elementaries, they can hop on the website and they'll know exactly where to find that same information. And on the main district site, it's a little different. This is where we're going to drive a lot of that core information that that you would necessarily, you wouldn't want to have individual versions of all of this information on each individual school site. Something like human resources or the school nurses. We would want to drive people to the main district site to show where that information would be. On the main district site, we have information about the district, the central office staff, the individual schools, the individual departments, our curriculum, information about the school board, including a new initiative for board docs, which will house all of the it is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Go to the public site.
Yeah. So this is the board docs public site.
So one of the things that we've spoken about previously is providing more real-time updated information for our public with our board and committee agendas, meetings, and policies. This will also go live, so we've archived the minutes. So right now, if this were live, and it will be live Friday, you would enter the public site and you could see we featured some of the most recent events. So Justin would be able to go here and go right into the agenda for tonight. You would see the agenda by clicking on the agenda there, and then on the left side, you will see, so if he clicks on approved personnel, that's our next item, you'll see the personnel. You'll also see attachments, okay? So he could go back up to featured. I won't have him do this, but you could go to board minutes, and then for the next 10 years, for the last 10 years, you'll see all the archived minutes that you'll be able to get to. What's really nice here as well is if Justin goes there and hits policies, he clicks on that, and let's say he goes into the 100s and clicks the plus, you'll have access to all of our school board policies. We'll also be embedding links to all of the live archived meetings, so you'll have access to that. This will allow us to get school board meeting agenda, minutes, attachments out to the public much quicker, and also will provide them access to all the policies right there. In addition, you can find all of the committees and committee members, agendas, and minutes there. So that will be live on Friday as well.
All right. In addition to that, there will be, resources here for staff, parents, and students regarding Infinite Campus, the new school messenger platform, which we are also in the process of rolling out. We had a couple snags, but we're working through them, and we should be able to take that live within a few weeks. And that's going to be a replacement for the Remind system, so we can communicate out to all of our parents, students as well, and community members that want to receive messages from the school. Thank you, everyone.
As an important note, in the interim, as we start to move content over, we're going to provide access via the website to our old website. So if you know that there's some information there that you can't find, it'll be there. And then we'll start to move some of that information over. Did I describe that the right way?
Yeah.
Phil, do you have?
No, I just wanted to say to Justin, welcome. The board did a great job approving a lot of these projects, and Justin just rolled on, less than a month ago?
30 days.
30 days. I knew I was around there. And the first time I met him, I met Chris in the parking lot. I was paying my taxes, actually. And he said, "Do you want to meet the new IT director?" And I said, "Sure." And so we walked in. I couldn't see him because there's all these boxes. So he was thrown right into the middle of a lot of projects, and this was one of the main ones. And the site is going to be up on Friday, and a lot of work goes into it because we really wanted to, and he talked about this, but we really wanted to balance functionality versus navigation, not too fancy, but really have it user-centric and really focus on what the user did. And so we did a survey and translate that survey into the design. And so it's really, really neat. And I'm excited for it to get up on the live. It'll be this Friday. The only thing I would ask the public and the board is just a little bit of patience, because we're doing a lot of stuff. We're linking it to Infinite Campus. We're linking it to Messenger. Messenger's new. Our workflow on how docs get approved and put on the website is new. The people in those roles are new. So there's a lot of new stuff. We have a new director who's doing a really good job, and I can't thank him enough for his patience. So we're going in the right direction. And this is just one of them. I'm going to give a board report, I think, at the end about the other stuff we have. But I just wanted to say thank you again, Justin. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
One question. I'm just going to put a plug in for the AEIO. They were a link on the other site. Is it possible for that to be transferred over to the new?
We will work on that, absolutely.
I figured. Thanks.
And the other thing that is really important to note is that a key design feature here is to have the students involved. And that may mean that we're a little slower. So, for instance, Ben and James, who are out here, they're actually students. You would think that they're full-time video people for us. And Ben also takes pictures of staff. So we're using some of our students to help us design, and we have to. I have to pay attention to their day job and make sure that they get what they need during the day, and then they can teach us about technology in the afternoon and help us out. So thanks, Justin.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Justin, and also thank you very much to the Technology Committee. You guys have done a great job. Dr. Schaefer, anything else?
That is it. I think we're on to public comment.
Okay. Public comment, if you could please, normally we have a card to fill out and so on, but if there's someone who'd like to make a public comment, please come forward, identify yourself and where you live, and, oh, yes, Mr. McLean, of course.
No, I just have a few questions in reference to the new website. Is this going to affect Google Classrooms at all? No. Is School Messenger going to totally replace Remind? So I thought it was up to 100 people, then you had to start paying under 100, like for Teams, I'm just saying.
So teams would still be able to use it, and yes, you're correct, under 150 individuals, it's still free.
So my team would still be able to use Remind, or are you looking to us to get rid of it and go right to School Messenger? I'll do it either way, but.
No, you can use Remind.
So for athletics, we're continuing, but for all other messages through the school, we're going to use Messenger.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other public comments? Please.
Hello, Renee Sabovitz, North Abington Township. My question was on the agenda. There is an item on a COVID coordinator, and was wondering why is that position needed at this point when it seems to have been covered in the past? And now we're not even doing contact tracing, and we're not doing anything with quarantine?
Yes. So You're correct. You know, we don't have masking. We don't, you know, we're not quarantining. However, as an organization in the community, we play an important role in public health. And one of the things that we must do is to report to the Department of Health. I think that that's our obligation as an organization within the district. And we are short-staffed in our personnel department. Last year, personnel was providing information to the DOH along with Dr. Vitale. So with that said, I told Dr. Vitale that, you know, since we're not having all these things, we should probably make it a supplemental and have somebody report that information. That way we don't have to have anybody doing 3 jobs. So it's just a reporting mechanism. We have the opportunity for parents to self-report any types of illness that way to COVID, and then we can report that to DOH.
Okay, as far as obligations, those were fulfilled within the last 2 years, correct?
Correct.
And now we're going to fulfill those same obligations, but now we're going to pay $2,000 for it, correct? As far as safety goes, is there any talk of a safety or resource officer in the middle school or that position in Newton Ransom Elementary? Because those schools are so far out. Who would respond to any emergency to those buildings?
So we've definitely looked at the SRO model, and although we see a benefit from it, we are not making that investment at this point. We are doing a significant amount for safety to ensure that our teachers are better trained should there be an emergency. And we also have monthly meetings with all the local law enforcement of what response would look like, what situations we're seeing in the buildings, what trends we have. And we've had 2 very, very lengthy meetings with them this summer about what response would look like to a situation. So I really am confident that we're moving forward to increase our safety mechanisms, but at this point, no, we are not moving forward with an SRO.
Okay, so who actually responds if there is an emergency at the middle school?
So it would be the Pennsylvania State Police. However, we also have an SRO at the high school, and he said he timed it, and it was just about 4 minutes to get to the middle school.
Okay, because with the state police responding to anything at the middle school, it would take a long time to get there, number 1. And number 2, depending on which state police officer responds, are they even familiar with the layout of our middle school? Because it is quite unique and very confusing.
So that's a great question. So those monthly police chief meetings that we have, it's the emergency operation plan, we're actually having one at every building, and the entire team is going to walk the building. Also, Officer Shazik is meeting with all of the local police departments, including the state police, and giving tours of each building of what access points are, so that way every local responding agency knows. If there was a significant emergency, jurisdiction doesn't matter. Every police officer in the area will respond. So the reality is if it was a very significant situation, Waverly, Clark Summit, and South Abington, they will respond to the middle school in a dire emergency.
Okay, thank you.
I also want to add, we have also submitted a grant to the state. We've been allocated up to $150,000. We have working with various vendors to get quotes on video surveillance systems. We have a new communication system going in all the schools, as well as central office and maintenance, so that we can have more timely and effective communication. Right now, we don't have that. In addition, we have a risk and vulnerability report that was completed by the Pennsylvania State Police and then prioritized by our building principals. We then met as a district office, and we've been going through those prioritized areas to make sure that we are investing into safety. So if there's something with a window, something with a door, the communications, the video surveillance, those are all things that popped up.
Please come forward.
Hi, Kara Hulian. I just wanted to follow up on the middle school safety. I know under the ESSER grant, we got around something like $2.4 million, and I think hiring a resource officer would probably fall under being able to hire one with that money. And that's a nice amount of money. And I feel like, you know, you said we train the teachers, and that's good because the teachers need to be trained. But I think it's, you know, our teachers are already expected to do so much, and now you're, in a way, putting on them, defending our children. I don't know, like if there's a wound, mending a wound. They're not a medic, they're not the police, they're teachers. They were trained to be teachers, and I think it's really unfair to leave them without a resource officer, without protection. If you talk to people at other school districts, there's, you know, they have a resource officer in every building. So, and I think just to have someone to man the middle school and the elementary school would be reasonable and a positive step towards protecting our kids and teachers and administration. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, next up would be our action and discussion items.
Yes.
Dr. Schaefer?
Yes. Mr. Acker, I'd ask that the board approve the personnel report.
And that's Second. On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9 yes.
Mr. Acker, I'd ask that the board consider a motion to approve the addenda to agreements for school transportation services.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9 yes.
Mr. Acker, I'd ask that the board approve the settlement agreement between the Abington Heights School District and Student 21A.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9 yes.
Mr. Acker, I'd ask that the board consider a motion to approve the contract agreement between the Abington Heights School District and the Abington Heights Educational Support Personnel Association.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? I would like to, first of all, reiterate Dr. Schaefer's comment on just how important the support staff is to us and how much we appreciate the hard work they do. And secondly, I'd like to thank two individuals in this negotiation, Gail Keeler and Dr. Schaefer, who basically sat down together and put this agreement together. I think without their willingness to talk frankly and honestly, we would probably still be talking about this. So I look at this agreement as saying the result of their good efforts. Roll call, please.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9 yes.
Is that the end of our
Information.
okay, informational section?
Yep.
Any new information? New business?
We did have a,
Then, old business, we have some board reports.
Yes, so we did have a meeting on August 31st at 6:30 PM. We actually utilized the board docs to post our agenda and minutes. I just want to thank the committee, Emily, Greg, Anthony, Dr. Vitale, and of course Justin. We were able to really dive into some of the things that we've planned to do for a while. And between now and the end of the year, we're executing on the things that the board had approved early on, namely things like the virtual server farm, which, without getting into detail, it allows us to do things that we should have been doing before, like upgrades and things like that, keeping our network healthy. Also, our network switch which was a big expenditure. That's going to be implemented this fall. Of course, the website. And one of the visions and missions that we had as a group was to have one-to-one device for K through 12. And so in the near future, administration is going to propose a plan on how to make that happen cost effectively. And I think the fact that we're working on the infrastructure, by the time that's ready, I think there'll be a plan to really implement the one-to-one K through 12 cost effectively. And so really cool stuff. I know we don't see the benefit of like a network switch and a virtual server farm, but with the devices now, all the pieces are coming together. So I just wanted to thank the board for their approval and for future approvals, hopefully, for a device plan, because devices every 6 years, the lifespan of a device is usually around 5 or 6 years, especially the devices that we're getting. So there needs to be a plan for a student to have a device throughout their whole career at Abington Heights. And so we did talk about it in a work session atmosphere, but we'll be proposing something in one of the near future meetings, so thank you.
Okay, any other old business committee reports? Very good. At this time, this is a work session. We have another opportunity for public comment. It looks like we're good. In that case, I would call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you all for
Actually, I did have one thing. I did. Yes, I forgot about this. So I was reading the paper a couple weeks ago, and I've been known to eat a lot of pizza, and I saw an article on how to make pizza from our own Jim Mirabelli. And not only was it an article about how to make pizza, but it also identified some of the downfalls, because he's been very vocal and very experienced in this area. And so he actually addressed some of the fears of pizza makers like myself. Again, I usually eat pizza, don't make it. But after reading that article, I'm going to make my own pizza, because he took the fear out of making your own dough and sauce. And it was just a great article. So if you didn't see it, I think it was in the Sunday paper 2 Sundays ago maybe. Wonderful article. So I just wanted to call that out. I learned a lot through reading Jim Mirabelli's article.
You know, he also runs
And maybe sometime, Phil, you'll be able to taste it.
He also runs a pizza review website, which I have actually used, and you know what? He was spot on. Thank you all.